There we go. Once again, welcome to today's conference, everybody. I am your host, Warren Campbell. Today's topic is going to be on successful meetings, how to organize and chair like a pro. Now, this conference is suitable for B1 level and above. The conference will be entirely in English. If you have any questions, any comments, you can write them in the chat box, which is just right here. And when I have some spare time at the end, I will address your questions. Okay. As I say, this conference is suitable for anyone, B1 level. If I could get everyone just to confirm what their level is, you can do that in the chat box. So you can type, for example, B1, B2, A2, whatever it might be. Okay, superb. Thank you for that, everyone. You can see them coming in now. Great. Okay. So, as I say, today's topic, how to organize and chair like a pro. I will be teaching you today some vocabulary and expressions for organizing and chairing the meeting. I will also share with you some strategies for successful communication. And at the end, we will conclude and I will take any questions and comments you have then. Okay, so let's begin, shall we? Introduction. As you all know, effective meetings are crucial in the business world. Communication is everything, okay? Now, there are two roles, I guess, that are the most important ones in business meetings. The first one, the organizer. They focus on the logistics and the preparation of the meeting. The second, last but not least, the chairperson, they take a more active role during the meeting itself. They will do things like ensure effective communication and participation, and they're usually the decision maker as well. Okay, so we have the organizer and the chairperson. Notice that little nuance there. Let's go through some vocabulary and some useful expressions when it comes to organizing the meeting. Phase 1, setting up the meeting. Now, setting up a meeting means arranging or basically planning a time and place to meet, to talk with someone or a group of people. When you are setting up a meeting, it's important to use clear and direct language. Okay. To schedule the meeting. In context, can we schedule a meeting with the new manager? I think we should have a meeting about this topic. What do you think? Do you have any free time within the next few days for a meeting? So 3 useful expressions there when it comes to scheduling a meeting. To propose a time. I suggest we meet at 3 p.m. Is that convenient for everyone? Is 9 a.m. next Monday a good time for our meeting? How about we meet at 10 a.m. on Friday? Okay, so we've looked at scheduling the meeting, to propose a meeting, 3 useful expressions there. Phase 2, determining the agenda. Okay, now be careful of this word agenda. What it means when we talk about determining the agenda, it's deciding what topics or subjects or even items you will talk about during the meeting. Okay? The goal is to make sure everyone understands what will be discussed and feels prepared for the meeting. Topics. I think we should talk about our marketing strategy for the next quarter. What topics would you like to discuss during the meeting? Does this agenda cover everything we need? Now, objectives and priorities. The primary goal of our meeting is blah, blah, blah. The most important thing is to discuss is blah, blah, blah. I'll repeat that last one there. The most important thing to discuss is our sales figures from last year, our sales figures from last quarter. So, determining the agenda, okay? Phase 3, sending invitations. Now the key is to be polite and provide all the necessary information so that your colleagues know when and why the meeting is happening and how they can join it. Invite your co-workers. You could say things like, I would like to invite you to our meeting. Or, here is the link to join the online meeting. Typically said in emails, I guess, okay? But yeah, here is the link to join the online meeting. Confirmation. Please send us a confirmation email by Friday. Just so you know who is going to come to the meeting. Please send us a confirmation email by Friday. Or please let me know if you can attend the meeting. The impossibility to attend. How to express this in a polite way rather than simply saying, no, I can't come. You could say something like, unfortunately, I won't be able to attend the meeting. Offer to reschedule. I'm unavailable at that time. Is it possible to reschedule the meeting? And then from there, suggest a time. Okay. So we've looked at 3 phases so far. The last one here, sending invitations. Okay. Now, I'm going to also teach you some additional vocabulary and expressions in regards to chairing the meeting. Okay, so remember, the chairperson of the meeting is the person who has the most active role during the meeting. They're involved in the decision making, making sure everybody has the opportunity to speak as well, and managing the agenda, sticking to the agenda as well. Now, before the meeting, okay, welcoming the participants, very important step, of course. Could say some basic things like good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining today's meeting. Or simply welcome, everyone. Let's get started. Opening remarks. Let's start by discussing sales figures from last quarter. That's a typical example I always use in meeting-related lessons. So let's start by discussing the operations from last week, whatever it might be. Let's begin with the first item on our agenda. Then introducing the agenda for the meeting. Let's take a look at today's agenda. Or I'll quickly go through the agenda for today. So these are some things before the meetings for welcoming the participants, opening remarks, and introducing the agenda. Okay. So far, so good, everyone? Thumbs up, or we're all still with me? I can see some thumbs. Yep, perfect. Great. Okay. Okay, so chairing a meeting, okay, during a business meeting. Now, this is what I'm going to show you here are some expressions for, you can say, during the meeting. To discuss a point, let's discuss what Jean mentioned earlier. Now, let's talk about blah, blah, blah. I would like to say a few words about, and then the object or the subject after there. To stay on topic, okay, not to digress here, okay, to stay on topic. Let's remain focused on the agenda, please. Now, what I mean here when I say to stay on topic, let's imagine the meeting is about sales figures, and one of the participants of the meeting starts talking about human resources. Okay, so this person is getting off topic. Okay, so if that happens, you could say, I think we're getting off topic. Let's return to our main discussion on sales. Okay, so to discuss a point and to stay on topic during the meeting. Interrupting. This is something you may have to do. Now, may is a polite modal verb. The meaning here is pretty much the same as can, okay? However, it's considered to be more polite. One could say, can I interrupt briefly? But it would be considered much more polite to say may. You could also substitute may with could as well. May I interrupt briefly? Could I interrupt briefly? May I add my point of view, please? May I ask what you mean? Asking for clarification or further explanation. Interacting with other participants. Okay, so opening the discussion up to the other attendees. What do you think about this topic? You can choose a person. I'd like to hear from Lisa on this topic, for example. Are there any questions so far? This is a good expression, this one, so far. Okay, so like jusqu'à ici ou jusqu'à maintenant. Okay, so interacting with other participants. Okay, and just remember, may is considered a very polite modal verb. Now, at the end of the meeting, there's a few things we need to do. It goes from summarizing, actions, and closing. Let's start by summarizing. There are a few things you could say here. One could say simply to summarize. We could say that. To conclude, we have decided that. And to sum up, today we discussed the following topics, okay, or the following issues. Now, if sum up, that term there is new for everyone. It's a phrasal verb and it literally means to summarize. Very common. State the actions. The next steps will be, or Brandon will be responsible for the new project. Closing. If there are no further points, the meeting is adjourned. This is a good term here, adjourned, okay? meaning that the meeting is now finished. It's quite a fancy way of saying that, okay? The meeting is adjourned. Or, that's all for today's meeting. Thank you for attending. Or thank you everyone for your contributions. Okay. So, now I'm going to share with you some strategies for successful communication during meetings. So, 2 points here. The first one, active listening. Now, I can see some of my students are present in today's conference. They will know this is something I talk about quite a lot in my lessons, okay? Active listening. Now, what I mean by this is simply paying attention to what others are saying and trying not to plan your reply while you're listening. This is a very difficult thing to do, okay? I'm guilty of this from time to time as well, but it is so important to really pay attention to what, your colleagues, your clients, whoever it might be, pay attention to what they're saying and try not to plan your reply while you're listening. Really take interest in what they have to say. Avoid interruptions. Wait for the person to finish speaking before you talk. Now, there might be some situations where this might be really difficult. So, for example, if your meeting is supposed to be 30 minutes in length and someone is getting off topic and they're talking a lot, it happens. You could interrupt, but make sure you do it in a polite way. But my advice would be try and avoid interruptions as much as possible. The last one here, repeat back the main points in your own words just to make sure you understand as well. Okay, nothing wrong with clarifying something, just to make sure you completely understand the point that's being mentioned. Okay. Another little strategy I can share with you, try to avoid talking too much. Okay, so being concise is so important. It's everything really. Be concise. It's very important for maintaining focus and also to make sure that everyone keeps following what you're saying as well. Second, get to the point quickly. Make sure you express your ideas clearly and with understandable language. My third point on that there, this makes it easier for participants to understand and engage in the conversation. Now, I imagine all of you are native French speakers, and if you're working in international companies where you have people speak, whose first language is not French, not English, it could be anything, right? So, and the target language might be English. It's very important to try and keep everything concise, okay? Make sure that everyone can understand what you're saying and get to that point quickly, okay? Non-verbal cues, okay? Now, in virtual meetings, like kind of like right now, I guess, but in virtual meetings where physical presence is limited, non-verbal language plays a major part in communication. Such things, my advice would be pay close attention to participants' facial expressions, their body language, just to understand their reactions and, their feelings as well. Okay, so let's take a look at the next one here. Try to limit the use of hand gestures unless you want to emphasize important points. And be mindful of how your own non-verbal language may be interpreted, because these signals contribute to the overall understanding as well. Okay. So that is non-verbal cues. Let's take a look at conflict resolution. Now, I don't know if anybody has experience of, dealing with conflict in the workplace. Not an easy thing to do. But here are some pieces of advice I can share with you. Now, disagreements are natural in any discussion, and handling them with tact is essential. Now, when participants disagree, talk about it politely and let everyone share their views. It's very important that everyone can share their views. Try to find a middle ground, so to speak. Try to agree by seeing what everyone has in common. If it's hard, maybe save the topic for another time when you can talk about it in more detail. Okay. Use of technology, utilizing technology. Now, the use of chat functions is something that is pretty much prominent in the majority of workplaces today. I'm sure most of you, if not all of you, use chat functions. We have one in our conference today as well. But when it comes to, utilizing technology in the workplace, use those chat functions. Use chat functions for quick and efficient communication, allowing participants to share thoughts and ask questions, or even provide feedback in real time. Integrate visuals, such as slides, to illustrate complex points effectively. Now, technological tools, when used well, can significantly contribute to the success and engagement of the meeting. To conclude, I've covered a lot of information today. Now, as I mentioned at the beginning, effective communication is everything, okay? It is the most important element for successful meetings in the business world. By learning the details of setting up and leading meetings, you can handle the planning, running, and finishing of good meetings effectively. The phrases and methods given are helpful for talking to others, from arranging meetings to dealing with differences in a polite and diplomatic way. So, here are a bunch of resources for you that we have available on our e-learning platform. They range from A2 level all the way to C1. Okay, so chairing the meeting and organizing the meeting. We have an article on the Le Cercle de l'Homme blog, which is available to read as well. And we also have some YouTube videos for your interest as well. So, everybody, chairing a meeting, okay? So with this one here, okay, I just want to say thank you so much for coming today. I'm just going to check some of the comments that we have here. Guillaume, you can turn your microphone on now. Hi, nice to meet you.
Hi. Yes, I just asked a quick question.
Yep.
When you talked about physical cues,
yeah,
I just wanted to know if cues, if it's a word used to say the same thing as clues.
Okay. That's a good question. Thank you for that. It's not quite the same as clue. So, for example, you've probably seen me a lot during the presentation moving my hands, right? This is something I'm very guilty of. My other students can say as well. So like a physical cue it's to do with your body language. Okay, so it's, you know, the gestures that you make with your hands, perhaps your expressions on your face. Okay, but it's not so much about clue. A clue is more like maybe like a suggestion or a possibility of something. Okay, but cue itself, it relates more to the body language aspect of things, like the non-verbal cues. I can see Gael mentioned in the comments there as well. So more to do with the physical body language itself. Okay.
Okay.
Thanks, Guillaume. Thank you. Gael, you have a question here. Do you want to share with the class? You can turn your mic on as well. Or perhaps no. Okay. I'll just answer it. Okay, no problem at all. So with the non-verbal cues, I think I just talked about that a little bit with Guillaume there. So what I mean by that is, again, just about, you know, your body language more than anything. Okay, so what you're doing with your hands, the expressions on your face. Okay, you know, asking people to raise their hand if they have a question, that kind of thing, or something like that. It's to do with body language. Okay. Does that answer that for you, Gael? Is that okay? Okay, thumbs up. Superb. Okay. Well, it seems to be that is all of our questions today. Well, I just want to say thank you so much to everyone for attending today. I hope you enjoyed it and found the language to be useful. I do conferences every week at the same day and the same time. So just, you know, check your student page, check your emails for that. And on that note, have a good evening, everyone. Great to meet you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Warren.
Thank you. Bye.
Much. Okay.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.